should I have like a 0
Welcome to MediaPath. I'm Fritz Coleman.
And I am Louise Palanker.
You know, here at MediaPath, we curate your entertainment options. So many people have thanked us for pointing them toward interesting books and television shows and movies so that they didn't have to slog through all the rest in the midst of their busy lives. All we can say is, you're welcome. We also have awesome guests. The hysterical Cathy Ladman will be with us today, one of the great stand-ups. She's also an actor, a television writer. Lots to talk about. Cathy will be with us in just a second. But first, Weezy, what are your suggestions this week?
Well, I have two, Fritz. So we're going to do me and then you and then back to me, okay? So on HBO, there is something called Music Box. Music Box on HBO is a collection of 6 documentary films created by Bill Simmons exploring pivotal moments in music history. The series includes Woodstock 99, Peace, Love, and Rage, Jagged, about the emergence of Alanis Morissette, DMX, Don't Try to Understand, Listening to Kenny G, Mr. Saturday Night, which is about Robert Stigwood, and Juice WRLD, Into the Abyss. So for reasons still unclear to me, I began my journey through Music Box with Kenny G. Fritz.
I saw that.
Hold me. On the Natch, I do not give a lot of thought to Kenny G, but perhaps he provokes my attention because he is so equally well-loved and hated. The film gives you a wide window into his personality. Kenny G is warm and likable and musically gifted. He is also entirely disciplined, determined, ritualistic, and tactical. He would have made a good monk. Focused and diligent, Kenny feels little responsibility to adhere to the historically recognized tenets of jazz. He creates what he creates with no apology, but with a longing to be more universally appreciated. This guy loves to devote himself to practice and mastery. Matching that work ethic with his gift for melody and his artistry inspired the smooth jazz musical genre that haunts your bank line. But the reality is, a lot of people like it. Kenny G is now winning at social media through his willingness to crack fun at himself. He may not fully appreciate the jokes, but he gets that it is tactical. I don't ever need to hear Kenny G hold a note for an hour just because he has the discipline to master a parlor trick. But I do recognize that he is excellent at the art and the science of creating Kenny G. And I will watch more of the Music Box docs. I'm currently working on Robert Stigwood and report back to you from the front. Fritz.
There you go.
Yeah.
First of all, he's a magnificent entrepreneur.
Yep.
He's one of the smartest businessmen in music. Mm-hmm. And people have no idea how popular this guy is in China. Mm-hmm. They play the same Kenny G song at sunset throughout the entire country over one giant Chinese sound system every single night. It's like a religious experience to say goodnight to a Kenny G song.
Right. It lets people know that it's time to go home. And he performed a concert where he did that song like 3 or 4 songs in, and everybody got up and walked out.
Yeah.
That's how confused they are by it. They think it just means time to leave.
You don't see that with Green Day and any of the other Eastern
Not yet. I'm working on that.
All right, my pick is Cyrano.
Okay.
I'm sure it will end up streaming, but right now it's only in theaters. I saw it at the Langley. It's based on the musical by Erica Schmidt that's based on the original French play Cyrano de Bergerac, written in 1897. And I didn't know this, but Cyrano de Bergerac was an actual person, and the play loosely reflects the reality of his life. Cyrano was a master wordsmith and a poet and a romantic and a very brave soldier. He feels like his appearance, however, makes him unworthy of the love of Roxanne, who happens to be his distant cousin back when you could do that. And he's been devoted to her for years. In the original story, Cyrano has an exceptionally large nose, which made him extremely self-conscious. Plus, Roxanne is in love with another man. Now, the self-conscious Cyrano helps the other man, who is also a soldier, secure Roxanne's love. And he does that by using his incredible writing skills to secretly fashion the other man's love letters for him. And what makes this story really powerful in this version is that Cyrano is played by Peter Dinklage, Game of Thrones fame, who just happens to be a little person. So it's really easy to empathize with his insecurities about his looks, played against all the other normal-sized actors in this film. Also, an added element is Roxanne is white, and the soldiers he's fallen in love with was black. So this inclusive combination is really just a comment on the purity and the blindness of True Love. Quite beautiful, and the acting is great. Haley Bennett plays Roxanne. You'll recognize her from The Equalizer and the latest version of Magnificent Seven with Denzel Washington, and also a great movie that I loved, Girl on the Train. The other soldier she's in love with is played by Kelvin Harris Jr., who was seen in Trial of Chicago 7, one of my favorite movies of last year, and 12 Years a Slave. The acting wonderful, great telling of this classic tale. It is a musical, but happily not too many songs, and the songs were well placed and easy to understand. I loved Cyrano.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to check that out. Still in theaters, right, Fritz?
Yeah.
Okay. So I am watching. Have you seen this, Fritz? This is right up your alley. It's called 1971, The Year That Music Changed Everything. It's on Apple Plus.
No.
Okay. This 8-part documentary series is executive produced by Asif Kapadia and James Gay Reese. They comprise the team who won an Oscar for Amy, their 2015 film about Amy Winehouse. The 1971 series is based on the 2016 book, 1971, Never a Dull Moment, Rock's Golden Year, by British music journalist David Hepworth, which dials in on representative moments of 1971, a particularly tumultuous and watershed year when the Vietnam War raged on amidst outrage, protest, and a musical heartbeat which both echoed and fomented change. In that one year, John Lennon inspired us to imagine. Marvin Gaye achingly asked, "What's going on?" And Neil Young cried out, "4 dead in Ohio." The series tells its stories through beautifully edited tapestries of rare archival footage and the voices of those who were there as it endeavors to understand why rock and roll and R&B so ably captured and catapulted cultural tipping points in Black power, women's liberation, and gay pride. The Vietnam War was the driving wedge issue which sent young people into the streets, burning draft cards and cleaving them from the sensibilities of their moral majority parents. Cries for peace only served to inspire demands for rights and representation on all moral fronts. Did the drug use and decadence muddy the message? Sure. But without the drugs, would we have had the fashion? It's a good question. The takeaway here is that music does not just reflect, it shapes. The blend between music and its time is exponential. Boomers know this as well as anyone, and as we watch 1971, our intention should be not just to celebrate our contributions to positive change, but to give a leg up to those coming behind us and wishing to do the same.
Sounds really good.
Yeah, eight parts, but
Sounds like it'd be part of the Music Box series.
Well, this is all this really great documentary stuff that's going on streaming media that you might be kind of flipping past. And if you have any interest in all of this stuff, just dive in. It's so wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I'm going to bring out our guest. I just love this lady. I've been a fan for a long time. A wonderful comic. She had her own HBO special. She made 9 appearances on The Tonight Show, 6 appearances on The Late Late Show. She was a writer on King of Queens. She's an actor with roles in White Oleander, What Planet Are You From, and Charlie Wilson's War, both Mike Nichols movies. On television, she was seen on Roseanne and Dr. Katz, and Everybody Loves Raymond, and Pretty Little Liars, and Curb Your Enthusiasm. And in 1992, she won the American Comedy Award for Best Female Comic. She has the best description of her own humor. She describes her comedy as, quote, a self-probing, anxiety-venting vehicle for exposing personal neurosis. Cathy Ladman, so nice to see you, my dear. Thanks for
Nice to see you, too. Does it say that I describe it like that?
Yeah.
Because I think that somebody else described it. I think I have to.
I thought it was you,
no,
but
it was. Well,
I thought it was beautifully written about who and what you are and what makes you so funny.
Oh, that's good to know. Excuse me. Thanks. First of all, 2 things. Mm-hmm. I hope you don't mind that I have wind chimes outside. I hope that's not going to be too distracting for you.
No, love it.
And what's the is there a language
No, you say whatever you feel.
I say whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, right.
We're not going to kick you off the cruise. Say
all right.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's just do what we have to do and talk about your start in stand-up. You came up with a great class of stand-ups.
Oh, my God, yes.
Talk about your start.
Those were the sweetest days, I'm telling you. I started in New York in 1981. And, in a smaller club, a place called Good Times, where I met people that I still know today. And then about 6 months later, my first showcase club that I passed at was Catch a Rising Star.
Can I just pause for a second and ask Thomas if maybe we shouldn't quiet those wind chimes?
Oh, I'll shut the windows.
It does sound like you're getting a text.
I'll shut the windows. Okay, hold on.
I have a funny story about wind chimes. I moved to this house and I was like, oh, wind chimes. And I'm like, I'm just going to really kind of flow with that. And after a week, they were stuffed into a terracotta pot. No.
Who
All
are
right,
some
so
of the people that
where do you want
who were those in your class at the time?
Mark Schiff was a little before. Reiser was before. Seinfeld was before. They were probably about six years before I was. I'm trying to think who was in my class. You know, we overlapped a little bit. Larry Amorous was in my class, literally in my class. We took a stand-up class together, and that's where I met him. God, I'm blanking on who was actually in my class. Do you have any names to throw out?
No,
that could help me?
you answered my question because
Okay.
I just think that you and all of the people, Sue Kalinsky and some of the other ladies that came out of that sort of that New York school.
Right.
I would say the male version of that would be the Seinfeldian, Robert Kleinian, Paul Reiserian class.
Reiserian,
which
wow.
I just love.
Reiserian.
I love it. Yeah, there it is. That sounds like a really painful procedure. but I mean,
not covered by insurance.
That's why I always thought that the New York people were so good because, first of all, the audiences were tougher back there, and everybody, you all learned from the best in one another.
And also, very importantly, you got so much stage time in New York. Mm-hmm. You know, you could go from club to club to club to club, and I mean, on a weekend, it was very easy to do 5 sets a night.
Wow.
So I mean, I would work.
You're too far to drive to do that out here.
Exactly. So you would just do it. You would do subways or cabs in New York, mm-hmm. and you would make it around town. And here, you know, you had like maybe 2 or 3 places where you could get on stage, really, and it was just you could not get the stage time. That's why I was so glad that I had 4 years of solid New York experience before I came out here. And then when I came out here, here being in Los Angeles, I passed at the Comedy Store, and I worked there 6 nights a week.
Wow!
So I had a home club that gave me stage time.
What motivated you to take the class?
I was scared. Mm-hmm. You know, I was really scared to be a stand-up comic. I decided to be a stand-up comic when I was 13. But I was terrified, and I had one false start, and I actually moved out to Los Angeles, didn't go near a comedy club. And I just thought maybe this will give me a little bit more support. So I can't even remember how I found the class, but it was the guy who taught it. His name was Dick Lord. He was a Catskills guy, and it was a great class. I mean, basically, your homework was to write material, get up on stage in class, perform the material. And when he felt that you had 5 minutes that were worthy, he said, go to this club, Good Times, which was a secondary or even tertiary club in the city. And, you know, an easy place to fail.
So it gave you the courage and the structure.
Yes. And I really needed that. I really didn't. And I did not have the support of my family. And I was so different from everybody in my family.
Oh, really? They weren't funny?
No, I think that, no, my dad was really funny, and my sister Leslie's really funny. Although she's more of a character. She's different. I mean, our senses of humor are very compatible, but we have distinct styles. But she's not a performer. But nobody in my family was a performer. Even in my extended family, you know, everybody was, you know, had conventional jobs, and you know,
I think stand-ups can
yes.
be put into 2 family backgrounds. You either came from a black hole of emotional despair, or you came from my background, which was very normal. I had a comfortable upbringing, but I became a comic because I had an insatiable need for attention. It had nothing to do with darkness or psychological disorders.
I come from the former. there was just a lot of fighting. My parents had a shitty marriage. They fought all the time, and it was not, my family was very dynamic. So we had a lot of personality, but there was a lot of strife. And for me, as the youngest and the one who was sort of not willing to go down the path of least resistance, it was tough. And then I developed an eating disorder, which was really difficult, which is what my show is about. And, I had to overcome a lot to grow up and out of that house.
Wow. Yeah. To even
That was
believe
funny, huh?
believe that you deserved it, that you deserved to have peace in your life.
Oh my God. I never thought I was worthy of anything, really. I mean, I just, I was always told to be better. I was always told I could do better and do more. And I have literally a conversation with my mom. I was living out here already, and we were on the phone, and I was, she asked me how I was, and I said, I'm a little depressed. And she said, are you taking care of yourself? I said, yes, I'm taking care of myself. Are you doing everything you can to feel better? Yes, I'm doing everything I can to feel better. Are you doing your best? And I said, yes, I'm doing my best. She said, just do your very best and then do some more.
And that summarizes your entire childhood.
Basically, that really encapsulates it right there. Just do your very best and then do some more.
So was your humor a survival mechanism in the midst of all the turmoil? Or
I think so.
Yeah.
I definitely think so.
And where
yes.
did the humor come from? From one of your families, one of your parents being funnier than the other? Or?
My dad was definitely the funnier one, and he was also the scarier one. He was very scary. He was a rager.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I know.
So is your comedy as much therapy for you as it is entertainment for us?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's great for me to tell these stories and be validated and to make something good out of something that was painful.
Yeah. And I really see that in your work. I see that it's also therapeutic for others who are going through something similar. But to hear that explosion of laughter over something that you've been through, that where the laughter almost says, not only do we get it, but it's crazy and hilarious that you went through it and survived.
Exactly. It validates me as a survivor. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you mentioned one of those issues that you like to express to an audience and be validated for, which is an eating disorder, which is what your one-person show is about, which you are looking for a home theater for now in Los Angeles. Tell us about the show. I actually
just found one.
Oh, good for you.
Yes, I just booked a theater. Well, the show is called "Does This Show Make Me Look Fat?"
Yeah.
And it took a long time for me to get it to this point. I think it was, no pun intended, very close to the bone. And I just didn't have enough distance from it. And I also, another issue for me was that I'm so used to being a stand-up comic and that everything needs to be funny. I didn't really fully accept and understand that not everything in this show needs to be funny.
That's right.
Because it's just not appropriate anyway. In order for me to get my message across, some of it is funny and some of it just isn't.
And Fritz has been through the same thing because he does his shows, and he knows that there's certain moments where you just have to say something and let people soak it in.
Yeah,
right.
And then it makes the jokes crack better if they because in a stand-up set, not with you, but some guys who are set up punchline, people get into the rhythm of the joke and they start laughing before the punchline gets out there, and that's a good rhythm, but it's not entertaining all the time.
Right.
So you take a moment and take a deep breath and say something profound or soulful, and then pop a joke in there, and the joke works better. It's great.
Right. I think it's like, one time I read this quote about music. I used to have this, I saved the piece of paper, and in moving various times, I guess it's got lost, but it was about music and why it's beautiful and why there needs to be sound and silence. And they used the example of John Belushi, how he lived his life all up here was all that intensity. And when it's all intense and all sound, it becomes a cacophony. And when you have the sound and the silence, it's a balance. It undulates, so it creates something beautiful.
That's exactly correct, in my opinion.
There's rhythms, and then there's twists and turns, and there's a chance for people to catch their breath. And that's one of the things. Like if you've ever sat through a comedy show where everyone is just so funny, and then the headliner is supposed to be the funniest, and you're just tired, like. Right. Just let me take a breath.
Right.
And also, you're saying something. And in a one-man show, I think that the challenge is for the performer to make people laugh and cry. So not only is it okay, it's you need to let them cry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So my show is going to be performed from June. It's just like a sneak peek of the show. It's this first foray, and it's going to be June 3rd to the 5th. At the Pico Playhouse in LA, in West LA.
Wonderful! Congratulations. Give us just the general. I'm very excited. Give us the general arc and what people will hear.
Well, you'll hear and see how the concept of perfectionism and not being enough really sort of dictated my childhood, and how the adult that I became from that is tortured because of that. Because I don't think that I learned how to be human. And you're going to see how in the show how I didn't accept my frailties. I didn't accept my humanity, my ability to make mistakes. I mean, which is such an important thing. So I think you'll see that, and you'll see how I found a way to heal myself through therapy and through my work.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's going to take something away from this. It's quite beautiful.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. Even people who aren't anorexic, which is my issue, are going to relate to this because of the theme of perfectionism. I think everybody has a relationship to that, either being a perfectionist or not, or being the other end of the spectrum.
And it's a societal thing. Americans are expected to be that way because we see how imperfect we are in every television commercial that pops up.
Yeah, and what we don't really grasp, especially as kids, is that learning comes in the mistakes.
Oh my God, I had an acting teacher who used to say, we wait for the mistakes. Okay. That's what we want. That's where you get the good stuff.
Yep, exactly.
And that's not what I was going for as a kid. I was like a little accountant. I mean, I was good at math and science. I was not an English student, although I became an English teacher, but I was not good at anything that was subjective. I was very good with things that had objective, finite answers because I had no faith in my own perspective. But the other thing about my show, which I believe will be more universal than merely just attract people who are anorexic, is that everybody has a relationship to food.
Mm-hmm.
It's some are more extreme than others, but everybody has a thing with food. And I think that will resonate.
Did you see Spencer?
Yes, I did.
Pretty good look at what you're talking about in that film as
yes. Well. Man, she was bulimic,
right,
which is different, but still she was compulsive and scared.
Mm-hmm.
And had to be in control. That's another theme that's covered in my show, being in control.
Right.
Which is an illusion. And
food is an addiction that we can't quit. Whereas, sometimes I think people feel like if you tell yourself you can't do this anymore, that's maybe more understandable than being told you have to continue doing this, but you're going to have to moderate. And learning how to moderate it's like giving me too much responsibility. That's kind of, I think, where it stems from. Is there any truth in that?
Yes. my mind wandered a little bit at the end because of what you said, because I was thinking when you said moderate, I was thinking I would just watched Desi and Lucy and Desi, the Amy Poehler film, which I thought was terrific.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna review it next
really
week.
good. It's really, really good. And Desi at the end talks about not being able to do anything in moderation, that he was able to do everything else well except be moderate.
Okay.
And that's really one of the things that plagued him.
It's tricky, and I think it's one of the things that draws people to the strict version of any religion, because the guidelines are right there for you, and you don't have to. I mean, every day, think about it. Every day of our lives, we spend the entire day making choices. It's all one choice after another, and that's just too much for some people. It's difficult to learn, and then there's that fear of getting it wrong, which if you kind of embrace the mistakes is less scary.
Yeah, I mean, it was so verboten in my home life growing up to make a mistake.
Oh wow,
so verboten. My God.
Yeah, that's.
So how did your family and the people that caused the stricture that made you react to your life that way, how did they react to you becoming a successful stand-up, which is having power over other people in an audience? It's exactly the opposite of what they tried to train you to do.
Wow.
I think they ultimately were very happy for me. And it was interesting. What I found was that my father could laugh at himself more than my mother could. I did this joke on the first Tonight Show, and I actually use it in my show about my dad. You'll remember this, Fritz, about I thought he was a CPA, and like every CPA, he was the most fastidious, meticulous, anal retentive person. And I talk about how to torture him, that you would time up against a wall, and in front of him, you'd refold a road map incorrectly. So after I did my first Tonight Show, I was interestingly on my way to do a cruise. And this was back it was like 89. And back then they met me at my gate at JFK. Can you imagine that? Yeah. People could meet me, get into the airport and go to the gate. And my dad brought a New York subway map that he had folded incorrectly and put into an envelope. Well, he was so proud to have been the subject of that.
That he was the star of the joke. That's so cool.
Oh, he loved that.
Oh my God.
And another time, we were in my neighborhood where I grew up. We were in the car with my mom, and we stopped. It was one of my mother's quote unquote friends was on the sidewalk, and we stopped and talked to her. And this friend said, is that stuff that you talk about about your family? Is that true? Which was what a stupid thing to say. And my mother was like, no, that's just an act. But it wasn't an act. But my mother did not like to, quote unquote, hang out her dirty laundry. She really thought that you had to present one face to the public and then another face to your family. And I'm not like that.
So let's talk about two things you brought up. First, your first Tonight Show, and then the hell that is doing cruise ships occasionally. But talk about your first, because that's your rite of passage, the first Tonight Show. Describe your first experience.
Well, apparently, I guess I had been in front of the booker then, was Jim McCauley. I had been in front of him many times and actually unaware of it. But finally I was given the pass, and I was going to do my first Tonight Show. And I was bumped, which was very hard. I was bumped by Harry Anderson.
That bastard.
Yeah.
I know.
He was doing 3 times before I got on the first time.
Three times?
First time by, I'm sorry. I was bumped twice and made it on the third time.
Okay.
First time by Charles Grodin, who wouldn't shut up. The second
Right.
time, Heather Locklear, who had just gotten some enhancing surgery, and Johnny was just ogling this woman and went 2 minutes too long.
Very distracting.
And
Right.
the comic always was in the middle slot at 10 after 12. He got bumped
Right.
and stuff went long. So
Right.
I'm not interrupting you, but I
okay.
I feel your pain.
No, it was tough, and it was like almost like having not having an orgasm. It was like I'm going to get to do this tonight, and then I thought, okay, Jim McCauley came to my dressing room and he said, well, you're bumped because Harry Anderson does magic and Johnny loved magic, and then he dropped his pants, and then they went to an extra segment, and so he said I was bumped, and I said okay, and then 15 minutes later, so that was my release for that night. But the second time that I went there, which was my actual first time on, I went on with Jay when he was guest hosting.
Mm-hmm.
And then they asked me to come back right away. I came back a month or 6 weeks or something later. And that was also with Jay. And this is great. I was waiting backstage, behind the curtain, and Macaulay's standing with me, and they're playing the music during the commercial break. And Macaulay's saying to me, we really would like you to do the show with Johnny. And I said, well, I'd like to do it with Johnny, but I want to be able to do panel because I'm doing panel with Jay, and I don't want to just, all of a sudden not do panel. That would feel weird. So and so he kept talking about it, and I said, "Can we talk about this another time, please?" Because I was just about to go on. So and then it did work out. By my third time, I was on with Johnny.
And you did panel?
Yes.
Do you remember what you talked about on the panel?
I can't remember.
It's all a flash. It's all a flash.
I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look at them, which are they're on videotape. I really have to have these transferred.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my
It's
first couple
ridiculous.
were peaks of mediocrity. The problem was some of it was timing, because the headliner on my second shot was Barry Manilow, and that was in the days when we were back at 3000 West Alameda, where people, these housefraus would camp out 2 days ahead of time to see Barry Manilow. So the whole audience was Barry Manilow fans and didn't care about one other aspect on the show other than Barry Manilow, and they're talking through my set on the Tonight
my
Show.
God,
it was really
that's
interesting.
terrible.
Yeah.
Well, it was before the internet. They didn't really see each other until they met up at Barry gigs, and I called them the Button Girls because I'd go see Barry on New Year's Eve. It was really fun at Universal to go see Barry on New Year's Eve, but they were the Button Girls, and they'd all wear buttons. That's how they'd recognize each other. Yeah.
Louise, are you from here?
No, I grew up in Buffalo, New York.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
But I want to talk really quick before we move away completely entirely from the subject of you writing jokes about the people in your world, in your life, in your family, because you now have a teenage daughter, correct?
Yes.
So at what point are you can't...
Very careful about that.
Okay.
I mean, I do a few jokes about her, but I'm very careful about it. It's very different when you're young, and it would be unfair. It would just be unfair to her, I think.
Now, how does she feel about if you still do a joke about when she was 3? Is she okay with that?
She's like, yeah, you do all the jokes. I mean, I think she might feign annoyance. At least that's how I see it. Because they're very good jokes. They really are very good jokes.
That's why I'm asking. That's adorable. But your husband is fine with it, and everyone else in your family?
He's really fine with it.
Yeah.
Somebody actually told me last week, or a couple of weeks ago, he said, well, you're really hard on your husband. And I was thinking about what I said, and everything I said was true. It's just true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do this bit about how much I love my dog, whom I adore, and how I just watch him. So I'm going to abbreviate it, which will screw up the timing, but you'll get the gist of it. And how I could just sit and watch him sleep, and just how much I love him. And I just can't believe how much I love him. And I feel like I could never love another creature as much as I love him. And then I walk down the hallway and I look into the bedroom and I see my husband taking a nap, and I'm filled with resentment. And it's sad but true.
Dogs do nothing but nap, and yet we adore them.
So does my husband.
So talk about your cruise experience.
Oh yeah, the great cruise scandal of 2022.
Because now you can correct me about this. It used to be, and this is where I got into trouble when I auditioned for cruises. You couldn't even do a double entendre. You couldn't do anything that suggested that maybe humans have sex occasionally. Even married humans have sex. You had to be so clean. But now they don't do that anymore, right? Now you can loosen up a little bit. Or what happens is you do an adult show like after 10 o'clock at night on a cruise.
Right. Okay. Here's the deal. I used to do cruises in the 80s, not a lot, but I did some, and I had a great time. I didn't audition for cruises. I guess my agents just booked me as a comic on a cruise. I didn't have to audition for the cruise company or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Then closer to now, I have not done well on cruises. My act just does not translate well on cruises.
It's too real.
Dry.
People are trying to escape.
Or is it that the people are from the middle of the country and the people from the coasts maybe are more attuned to your references, perhaps?
Maybe so.
Yeah.
It may be so. But also what happened to me recently, so I go on this cruise. I'll just tell you the most recent one. I go on this cruise. It literally happened 2 weeks ago. And I did a couple of shows the first night, which is terrible to do shows the first night. And very tepid response from the audience, but I've really lowered my expectations because cruise audiences, it's not like what you're going to get in a club or a theater on land. It's just not the same. Mm-hmm. So, but then the rest of the time I was on the cruise, people kept coming up to me and saying how much they loved my show. I was like, really? Well, great. It was surprising. Thanks, because they didn't. Yeah. I wish they had been more vocal, but it was nice to hear. Then last week I get an email from my agent saying that they had gotten complaints about me, and these are the two jokes that were cited.
Okay.
The one is the one about my husband and Hitler.
Okay.
The similarities between his relationship with Ava Braun and my relationship with my husband.
Okay.
And the other one is about my daughter's Chinese adoption.
Oh, that you ordered out?
They found them both offensive. Now,
what the hell?
The Hitler one I can understand. I actually can't even understand because I'm against Hitler. I'm against Hitler. Let me go public and say that I am against Hitler. And how can you find that offensive?
No, it's a joke.
It just doesn't make sense. But then the jokes that I do about my daughter's Chinese adoption, I don't even see what they're talking about.
Well,
I don't get it.
I think that we are kind of living through a time where everyone's being really cautious because the cruise doesn't want to get canceled. I'd rather cancel Cathy Ladman than have, 1,000 people tweeting and then canceling, this cruise line.
Right.
So
that's what happened.
Yeah.
They canceled me. And to tell you the truth, I'm relieved.
Okay.
Because as much as I enjoy working, this was not enjoyable for me. This was so anxiety provoking.
Yeah.
I worked so hard to put together. You have to put together a lot of time. I had to put together 2 45-minute sets, which is a lot of time for me. Mm-hmm. And I was working really hard. I mean, I'm proud of myself. I really, put my mind to the task and I did it. But it was not fun, and I don't like working for people who don't want to hear me.
No, but here's what I think is going to happen for comedians. I think that if the cruise line thinks that anybody can walk up to the office and say, I was offended by this joke because my sister has adopted a child from China. If they think that they can respond to that, just like if Florida thinks that, every parent is going to get to dictate the curriculum, they will soon realize they can't book any comedians because
that's what's happening.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. They are burning through comics.
Right. It's just not possible
and to tell you the truth, the comics that are performing well on cruise ships are doing things that are either safe or really
puns.
I mean, certainly not thoughtful. They're not particularly thoughtful. It's not thoughtful material. It's kind of easy and accessible. And
Well,
I'm not interested in that.
Right.
I just don't want to do that.
No,
Right,
you're too
right.
smart for that. Well, I knew we were too politically correct when Seinfeld said he would no longer do college campuses because people are too
Right.
sensitive. I thought, wow, then we're in a bad place because he's maybe
Right.
the least expensive functioning comedian working.
Yep. I mean, I think that certainly you hope that college campuses are going to be.
They should be free thought there. Nope.
Yes.
No.
Well, that's just the irony, right? So
And Jerry's not. I mean, as far as
Well,
I
right.
don't think Jerry.
Not at all.
So while we're talking about things that are not offensive, you were
Yes.
in the Aristocrats.
Yes.
So I would love to hear about that experience because the movie is pretty iconic, and I bet they recorded your bit without you having any frame of reference about how it was going to fall into the whole landscape of the thing.
Very
So
true. Yes.
how did you prepare, and then what did you think of the movie once it was finished?
Well, we went over to Carrie Snow's apartment,
Ooh, fun.
and it was Sue Kalinsky, Carrie Snow, and I telling the joke together.
Right.
And oh my God, we had so much fun. We smoked some pot. May I say that?
No.
And
I think so. Yeah.
what? I can't?
I mean, it's
No, we're
it's
on
legal
camera. Of
now.
course you can.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
Sure.
Oh, well, I guess it wasn't legal back then, was it?
Doesn't matter to us.
All right, I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever. And we were having so much fun. Oh my God, we were having so much fun. And Provenza was there, and Penn Jillette was there, and we were all laughing so hard, and it was just a riot. It was just a riot. But little did anybody know that this was going to be a vehicle for Bob Saget, rest his soul, to really find his true audience.
That's right. It was, wasn't it? I think they kept cutting back to him because it just got more and more, wretchedly disturbing.
Yes, and the thing is that, we all knew Saget.
Sure.
But America knew Saget only from,
That was
Full
the
House.
irony of Bob Saget.
Okay.
That was what.
Yes.
That's what gave him snap, because people, and now he's got a magazine out in grocery stores called America's Dad, looking back over his life. People had no idea, and then the irony of this really dark, dirty sense of humor made him so funny. It scared the crap out of 50% of the audience.
I think for me, because by the time that movie came out, I was well aware of Bob's act on stage, but I guess the rest of the country wasn't yet, and that's what introduced them.
Yeah. I mean, so that really gave him, it was incredible publicity. It was right on target for him.
So what was the reaction, though? Were people disturbed, or were people excited, or did it immediately find a cult audience? I was in love with the movie. I thought it was the most fascinating concept or thesis to present a film that's everyone telling the same joke, where the beginning is the same and the end is the same and the middle is whatever you want to make.
I mean, it's sorry, Louise, I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you.
it's just like for me, I hadn't seen a film really break every mold in terms of what can a documentary be, and I was completely delighted by it.
And it was a great look at storytelling, and how verbal storytelling is such an essential art.
Especially George Carlin, you began to understand how important words are to him and telling the story. I loved his part of it.
So how did the three of you come about deciding how you were going to tell the middle of the joke?
We didn't really plan it.
Okay.
I mean, we really freewheeled it. And it was, Louise, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And and we did not overthink this.
And
we did not overthink this.
That's the best.
We really just were in the moment and having a great time together. The three of us were really great friends and very comfortable together, and very good friends with Provenza. So
yeah,
it was just a blast.
It was a great fit. Yeah. Well, what a great piece of history to have taken part in. Really fun.
Oh, I know. I feel very lucky.
So you got to work with one of my heroes, and you got to work with him twice, Mike Nichols. Did you read the biography of Mike Nichols?
I'm in the midst of it.
Holy cow. He was a brilliant man. He was truthfully a genius, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So what were your impressions? You did Charlie Wilson's War?
I mean, I have a great story to tell you about Mike Nichols. the album is over there. I'm just looking at it in my hallway. It's Nichols and May Examine Doctors. When I was 8 years old, I used to listen to this.
Yeah.
My parents had the album, and I used to sit and listen to it, and I loved it, and I got it. I was 8, and I got it.
Yeah.
I really got it, and I memorized the album.
Oh.
And I still know it today. I mean, if you put it on, I could still mouth it along. I'm sure. Every night, my mom would come up to my room, and I would say my prayers, and I would do a selection off the album for her. And she kind of looked at me like, okay.
What do we got here?
Not really knowing what to make of this. But so years later, I got ready to do my first Tonight Show, and I was going to put on some music, and while I was putting on my makeup, and I thought, I know what I'll do. I'm going to put on Nichols and May Examine Doctors. So that, because that was like, like
inspirational time.
Crystallization,
Yep.
yes. So then I got a chance to audition for Mike Nichols for What Planet Are You From? And I ended up getting the part.
Wow.
And I'm on the set that day. And one of the cuts of the first cut of the album is called Gauze. And if you don't know the album, it's about this surgeon and his attending nurse and in the operating room, and he's asking her for things, and there's a sexual romantic tension between them. Right. So I happened to be standing right next to Mike on outdoors on this patio on the set, and he had hurt his foot, so he was wearing a boot on one foot, so he wasn't incredibly mobile. So I just happened to be standing shoulder to shoulder with him. He's setting up a shot, and out of nowhere, my mouth just said Gauze. And he said Gauze. And I said more gauze. And he said more gauze. And I said more gauze. And he said more gauze. And I said, do you have any more gauze? That's all the gauze. I don't know. I had a whole roll of gauze. What happened? And we're going back. And then I got mixed up because I was actually Mike Nichols and he was doing Elaine May's part. And I said, you don't know what it's like to be doing this with Mike Nichols. And he said, you don't know what it's like to be Mike Nichols. And
that's like singing Please Please Me with the Beatles.
It is.
That's pretty
like,
cool,
as I'm telling
though.
you the story, it's like the hairs on my neck are standing up. And my husband and my stepdaughter happened to be visiting me on the set with some house up in the Antelope Valley. And I just ran to tell them what happened because it was just unbelievable. It was this early little germ of an idea that I had when I was listening to that album that I entered that world of comedy. Surreal. And here I was working with Mike
He had to be
Nichols.
Flattered by that, though.
Surreal.
That's pretty...
I'm pretty sure he was.
So how was he to work with as an actor?
He was good, but I'll tell you, he was good until I couldn't give him what he wanted, and then it felt really bad. There was one scene where it just wasn't working, and that didn't feel good. And he wasn't. I think he had we had done it several times, and he didn't want to continue with the scene, and then the scene ended up not being in the movie. So of course I internalized everything about this. I think, I ruined the scene, blah blah blah. Who knows why they didn't put the scene in the movie? But he kept asking me to do it again, and I don't know what you guys are like, but when I keep getting asked to do the same thing over again, it's like when you ask a centipede how it manages to walk with 100 feet, and then you become really self-conscious about it. So that's what happened to me.
So maybe he just didn't know how to give the specific note that would have gotten you there.
Maybe he didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't, but I found working with him incredibly exciting. I'll tell you, on Charlie Wilson's War, which if you blink, you're going to miss me in it, I was surprised at how he was treating the extras. It was kind of like when you meet your heroes and sometimes they fall short. He was really strict and brusque with them.
Yeah.
And that made me a little sad. I hope that's okay that I'm sharing this here.
I mean, I think
reality
it's very real and very interesting. And I've certainly, read books and watched documentaries about him, so I'm familiar with some of the bristles. And
he's very demanding.
Yeah.
I mean, he was very demanding.
But, and that's okay to discuss because it's part of what made him him. So,
and he was so smart. You could tell he was a genius.
Oh my God!
I mean, that's what I got out of the book. And so it's like the rest of humanity can't live up to his expectations. It would probably be so intimidating to work for him.
But I was thinking about the parallels of him being a perfectionist and then you working through that.
I was just thinking that too, Louise. That's very interesting. I brought that album to the Comedy Awards the year that he was being honored there. Mm-hmm. And made my way over to his table, and he was sitting there with Diane Sawyer, and I asked him to please autograph it, and he did. And she was just so delighted. Diane Sawyer was so delighted to see the interaction between us, and it was. I think she was a great partner for him.
Yeah, I think that was.
I'm glad that he had found her.
Yeah, I think
I know that those were happy times in his life.
Yeah, I think she got him.
Okay, another hero of mine you've worked with, and I suppose you worked with him for a bit in stand-up, Larry David.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I did not work with him in stand-up. He was before me in stand-up, but I remember hearing stories about how he would sabotage himself, as a stand-up. He would, I remember one time the Letterman people came in to catch Rising Star to audition, and he's having a set and he's not liking the way it's going and he starts badgering the audience.
I saw him do that in the Westwood Comedy Store. He said, "You people don't understand a thing I'm saying." He just walked off the stage right in the middle of a set.
I mean, he was not, he was not destined to be, he was better than most of the rooms, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels like, he just continues finding his voice and finding his footing and what works for him.
Yes, and I think he found his milieu, definitely.
Yeah.
But he's a sweet man. He does everything he can to give his compadres work, and he was so much fun to work with.
Is the legend true about the amount of improvisation on Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Oh, yeah.
He sets up the beginning and the end, and then you fill it in yourself?
Yes, my daughter's cat is talking to me. Yes, you just know the bones of the scene, and you know where it starts, you know where it ends, and then you do a take, and then they go, "That's great. Okay, remember to leave this in. Let's leave that out, and remember to address this." And then you do it again, and then you kind of build it each time, and it's really, really fun, the stuff that's discovered.
Oh wow.
I love doing it. Especially, I did the last one I did was he let me play two different characters on the show. The first time I played myself, and the second time I played a woman in a restaurant at a table next to him.
Oh.
And we had such an interesting argument going back and forth. It was really.
Did you work with
really
Susie
fun.
Essman or Jeff Garland earlier in your career before Curb?
Well, I worked with Susie. Yeah, Susie
that's what I meant.
We used to take the crosstown bus together to the comic strip and catch Rising Star because we both lived on the Upper West Side. And then Jeff, I had met, in comedy clubs, but we lived in different cities for a lot of the time. I mean, he was a Chicago person, but he came through New York, and then we both ended up in LA together.
Can you talk for a moment about women in writing rooms and what were you able to bring to the experience that helped shape scripts? Because I imagine you were always a minority when you were in a room, right?
Yes. And I haven't been, excuse me, I haven't been in that many rooms, really. I mean, I've only been in maybe 3 writing rooms, but yes, always a minority. Roseanne was an enormous writing staff. It was like we began the season with 27 people.
Wow.
Holy cow.
And there's no other sitcom I know that's had the writing staff that big. And maybe it whittled it down. They whittled it down to 22 after some firings. And I was in one of the joke rooms. That's how they had so much comedy power. They had like 3 joke rooms.
They had breakout rooms.
Yeah, and we would each take 5 jokes and do them. And so in my joke room, it was basically almost all the time I was with all the women.
Interesting.
And Alan Stephen. It was Carrie Snow, Lois Bromfield, Cynthia Mort,
Monica
and myself.
Piper. Was Monica with the show?
She was not the. Did she write on Roseanne?
I thought so, but maybe not.
Maybe she did. I can't remember, but she might have. But she wasn't there the year I was there. Mm-hmm. Those were the 4 women that were there. Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, and Garland Testa, who became very successful at King of the Hill.
Well, that's kind of cool for you because Carrie and you were friends, and so that's better than most.
Yeah, Lois actually is the person who recommended me. Wow. Because Roseanne wanted to hire more women. Oh. And I knew Roseanne and I both moved to LA in 1985. And we met on this special that we were taping at the Comedy Store for George Schlatter. It was called Funny. It was about various things that are funny and the women of the Comedy Store. In fact, that's where Roseanne got her Tonight Show, was Maureen Murphy. Do you remember Maureen Murphy?
Of course. I went to her funeral at the Comedy Store.
She died?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When?
Yeah. Years ago, 5-6 years ago.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh,
I went to her memorial service and then Mitzi's right afterwards.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Well, Maureen was
and Carrie Snow sort of oversaw her. Oh no, that was Taylor Negron's memorial.
Right.
But all those people, the ladies always stuck together and they all showed up.
Yes. So Maureen was in this special that we were doing at the Comedy Store, and this segment of that special, and she made note of Roseanne. I mean, Roseanne was hilarious. And she secretly told Jim McCauley to come to one of our rehearsals, and he sat in the back in the dark. And then we took a break, and a bunch of us went to the kitchen to get some beverages, and he walked up to her in the main room and he said, "I want you to do the show." And she looks at him blankly. And he says, "You don't know who I am." And he hands her a card and it says, "Jim McCauley, The Tonight Show." And she screamed and ran down that hallway into the parking lot in the back. And we were like, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" And we ran out to the parking lot and she's jumping up and down. "I'm doing The Tonight Show. I'm doing The Tonight Show." And then Karen Haber and I went to see her do The Tonight Show, her debut. We sat in the audience, and I don't know if you remember this, but she was nervous. She went out there, she did her set, she killed, and then she spun on her heel and went right back through the curtain. She did not want to be out there. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And then she became a star.
Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't answer your question really much about the women in the room. We were a minority.
Yeah, but it sounds like, I don't know if that for you was the right outlet, because it just might be kind of stifling since you're a performer to have to, wait to get a joke in.
And that's that's why I left it, because I didn't want to be a writer. I wanted to be a performer. Mm-hmm. I mean, writing is an important part of my career, but I didn't want it to eclipse my performing career.
And writing for stand-up is a solitary, lonely, singular environment. And then you're writing in a room and your stuff's being judged by other people. I always thought that I would not survive well.
Well, I have to say that there were a lot of laughs. I mean, there was a lot of laughter and also a lot of crying.
Oh, wow.
I remember one time I didn't have an office, because my office was across the street. So I used to hang out in the offices, the main, where everybody else had offices, because there was such a big staff. They had to put some people across the street. Mm-hmm. And one time I was using somebody's office, my friend Drew, who was on staff. And I was crying to my husband on the phone, and I was in there for the longest time. And Drew's peering through the blinds, trying to get in there. And he just sees me.
I know a lot of guys and women.
Yes.
And at about that time, that got off the road because they wanted to have stability in their lives. They wanted to have families. I know Monica did the thing, and Jim Vallely, and it turned out to be a great career for him. People got off the road, and then the bottom fell out of sitcoms for a while, and these people are dusting off their acts and trying to go back on the road after that. And it was not an easy journey.
No, it wasn't. And, you know, I guess I kind of, the road and I kind of got tired of each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been doing this for 40 years, close to 41 years. Mm-hmm. And the allure of staying home and being able to earn a living was something, but it wasn't really enough. It wasn't enough. Like I said, I just didn't want it to eclipse my performing. And then I continued to go on the road. I continued to act, but then the road kind of dried up for me. Mm-hmm. You know, it's time for my next venue, basically.
Well, Weezy was talking about the difficulty in being a woman in a writer's room, but I remember from my limited experience going on the road that it was really difficult for female comics on the road because female comics were really in a minority, and you go to the condo situation, it's 3 acts for 7 days, and 2 of them have really bad personal hygiene, and one's a drug addict. And the other's a homosexual or whatever, probably quite seriously. And I don't mean that in a judgmental way. I mean, different lifestyles. It was really hard for the female comics.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I didn't take it so much to heart. I mean, the worst situation I was ever in was I was working in Ocean City, Maryland, and the condo had no lock on the door.
Yikes.
And the shower was one of those metal camp showers that you'd have at sleepaway camp, but it didn't have a curtain.
Ooh.
It had an old bedroom door.
Oh, Lord.
That you'd have to put in front of the shower. And one day I came out of I woke up and I opened the door, and I'm greeted by the ass of another comic stepping into the shower.
Oh, stop.
So, you know,
yeah,
I've seen it. I thought I really don't want to deal with this, but I dealt with it as best as I could, and it didn't destroy me. I didn't get the vapors from it. It was fine, but it wasn't. You know, it was certainly not the way I wanted to live. And I remember going to play the what was it in Sacramento, Laughs Unlimited. Mm-hmm. They had a house instead of a condo, but it was, you know, essentially the same thing. And they had these beds that were coated in like plastic, like the mattress had plastic coating, so that when you moved on it, it kind of crackled.
That's homey.
And my friend Dave Anderson, who's no longer with us, I'm sorry, I miss him a lot. And he and I would do these commercials together, and we'd say the crackle bed, and we'd take newspaper and we'd crackle, we'd crunch the newspaper and we'd show the virtues of the crackle bed. So I mean, we had fun making fun of it, but at some point, yes, that stuff has to end. I mean, you know, when you get to a certain stage of life, you don't want to have to deal with that. Yes.
Yeah. So where should people go to enjoy what it is that you do? I know that you've got your one-woman show coming, but where else can people kind of partake of what you're offering?
I do?
Yeah, what you do.
Well, I mean, there's social media. You can go to Facebook. I mean, everything is Cathy Ladman. Mm-hmm. Every place you go is Cathy Ladman, except for Instagram. It's Cathy Ladman 1.
As
because
opposed
I made a mistake
to 2,
the first time.
And we hate her.
I didn't know how to we hate her, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to delete the mistake I made the first time because I forgot my password. So I had to just create Cathy Ladman 1.
Oh.
So that's basically that. I mean, I'm in town sometimes at the Improv. Where else can I tell people to see me?
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
So you're going to launch at the Pico Theater in June.
Yes.
And
Pico
so
Playhouse,
what are your aspirations for this? Are you going to have backers come and look at it? Are you going to grow it, maybe do a longer residency somewhere, and then do what Monica did, which was to take her show to Off-Broadway?
Yeah, I think I think what I want to do, I don't think I'm going to, the plan is not to invite backers. I mean, it could change in the next 2 months, but really what we want to do, my co-author and director and I want to do is we want to see how it looks on its feet. We want to see what works. We want to see what doesn't. And my goals for the show are, I'd like to take it to theaters around the country. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to actually also use it as an educational tool and perform it at colleges, maybe high schools. I don't know if it's appropriate for high school age.
I think that would be a great target audience for eating disorders.
I'd say high school, yes. Cruise ship, no.
Say it again.
High school, yes. Cruise ship, no.
No, cruise ship, no, definitely not. Because no one has food issues on a cruise ship.
They do not.
And
they have it, but they don't recognize it.
So yeah, I'd like to do it at colleges, and if I could do it at high schools, if it could translate to high school students, I would love to do it there because that's where they need it. I'd also like to contact organizations like the National Eating Disorders Association and see if I can work in conjunction with them and get it out to places where people can glean, some help and support.
Right, where it can be beneficial and
yeah. I mean, I wanted this to be entertaining, but I really also I'm doing this partly to be of service too, because it's not. It's still supported in our media. Being thin, and especially for women, is still supported to the detriment of women.
Yeah, it's an ongoing issue, especially, of course, as you know, being the mother of a teenage daughter, with social media, and there's apps that can stretch you and make you thinner. And like, I even know of girls that have pinched other girls to make them look fatter in photos that they post and stuff. So there's all kinds of shaming that still goes on around body image, and it's just an ongoing struggle. It's part of being a human. And, and what you're doing is just such a gift to young women.
About 10 years ago.
And boys, too.
About 10 years ago, there seemed to be a period of time when the fashion industry was becoming very aware of that. And the plus-size models started to come into vogue. And more realistic body shapes came into vogue. But now we've gotten away from that. And I mean, supermodels look painfully thin. There's a commercial that runs in the Laemmle theaters about one of the leather companies or something, where the woman's dressed in all black leather. And I'm telling you, it's preoccupying how thin this woman is. And it doesn't do the product any good, because you're not even thinking about the purse. You're looking at this rail thin lady.
You just want to get her a sandwich.
I mean, I can see, I can see how my perspective has changed, because now I can walk down the street and I can look at someone and say that person's in trouble.
Yeah.
Not say that person looks great.
Right.
But I do see companies. There's a clothing company called Cabby that has plus size models. Athleta uses a lot of plus size models in their catalogs. So I still see it, and maybe not enough.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be extreme. It doesn't have to be plus size or minus size. Just a normal looking person with maybe a little pooch that doesn't bother anybody.
I love that on shows like American Idol, it doesn't even matter anymore the size of the person coming out, because at the beginning, Simon Cowell would say something like, do you think you look like the American Idol? And, if the person was like either kind of awkward looking or whatever, they might be like, but now people come on American Idol all different sizes, and you just kind of think, oh, well, let's see how they sing. And and we have more superstars in music. Maybe we always did in music. Maybe we always had different sized people in music that, if they're captivating, then they're captivating, and they just kind of like jump off the stage and grab you. And it shouldn't matter what size anybody is,
No, it shouldn't.
Yeah.
But we still, the amount of plastic surgery that is done in our business, and the amount of ageism that's out there, and also, body shaming. I mean, it still happens. It still happens. And you still hear it with ballerinas. I mean,
Oh, God.
They are still, there's so much bulimia.
It seems like no matter how much we become aware of how harmful things are, like boys, the go-to thing is to question somebody's sexuality or to call somebody gay, and women to call them either a slut or a whore or something about the shape of their body. And as much as we've evolved to know better, those still seem to be like the middle school things to do that could cause the most pain because that's the goal at that age, right? If someone hurt me, I'm going to hurt you. Dina, our producer, would like to weigh in here.
Yes.
Hi, Cathy. Is this thing on? Hi, Cathy. I just had a question for you. Hi.
Yes.
It's an honor to speak with you. I've been a fan since I was like 11 years old.
Aww.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
I just have a quick question to kind of weigh in, no pun intended, on the conversation.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you ever talk about normalizing, not complimenting how people, not necessarily someone's appearance, but normalizing not saying, oh, you look great, you look like you lost a bunch of weight. Like that aspect of like those kind of compliments and how they could be like triggering, for example, to someone that struggled, has had food issues throughout their life. Like, is that something that you ever talk or think about, or do you have like an opinion on that?
Well, I caught myself doing that. I mean, I catch myself doing that sometimes, saying to somebody, did you lose weight? You look great. And even somebody who's lived on my side of the street for a long time. And that's, it's a social pitfall, I think. I think it's a societal, there's kind of like an ideal that's still in our society now, that you want to look a certain way. And it's I don't think it's like that in other countries. I don't think it's like that in all other countries. Some other countries, I mean, I think that eating disorders are kind of like Asia, I think is getting more of a preponderance of eating disorders. But I do think that that's, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I think that is something that I find that I need to keep hyper vigilant about, not giving a positive reinforcement to losing weight.
It's something that we all kind of have to work on, because it's like you're saying, it's ingrained in us to make comments on like the size and shape of people's bodies.
Yes.
And it's like we have to work to get away from that.
Yeah, I think it's like we live in a land of abundance. And if you listen to the lyrics of If I Were a Rich Man, he's saying, if I were rich, my wife would have a proper double chin. That means I can feed my family, and that's a good thing.
That used to be the sign of a wealthy family, was somebody who had some girth. Yeah, I do think that our society is very used to thin equals good, bigger equals bad. And it's something that I think we need to change on an individual level. I think we each need to be more vigilant about it.
Yeah, or even just saying, you look young.
You look good. You look healthy.
Yeah, but like we also, when we say that people look young or they look thin, and those are all things that, you can't do anything about the age you are. You are the age you are. It's like you could say you look rested and you look good. Yeah.
I know. I mean, like people will say to me that I don't look my age, and I mean, like, why is it bad for me to look my age?
Right, exactly.
There's a lot of compliments that, like, actually are not compliments.
Right.
It's an interesting way
tell
to
me
look
more. What are some other ones?
We think you're brilliant and lovely, and we need to wrap up our show.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry.
It's just been wonderful chatting with you.
Like it's my fault.
No. You are our honored guest. But Fritz is going to now tell folks how they can help us and help all of America by reviewing our podcast. So
I just let me say, you know that I've been a fan of yours for a long time. You're so smart, and I just know that jokes or not, your one person show is going to be thoughtful and articulate.
Thank you,
and
Fritz.
I hope you have great success with it, and I hope we get to work again soon together.
And I really hope I didn't say anything stupid on here today.
You were very thoughtful and awesome. You were really. But for folks who would like to learn about other content, maybe not quite as brilliant as Cathy, but damn close, go to our website, MediaPathPodcast.com. We've got 86, 87 episodes in there, and we run the gamut of topics from the medical issues of Elvis Presley to a singer who works with the Oak Ridge Boys to wonderful people who were part of our lives early in sitcoms in the United States. You'll find something on there you love. And if you do love something, or even if you don't, we would ask you to fake a positive reaction to one of the podcasts and send us a review, because it'll help us spread the word so people know that we have quality guests like Cathy Ladman on here.
Yeah, you guys are great. And then next time I'm on, if I do come on again, I want to come in person.
Would you please? Well,
yes.
we can book that
well,
whenever
when you get the show up and running, bring it on, and let's talk about when you're promoted for the next level of exposure.
Sure. Yeah. It's a great little set you have there, and you guys are terrific together. I really love this. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. We'll book you and have you. In fact, if you get in your car now, you could come over before the credits roll, and we'll take some pictures on the back deck.
I don't think so. It's after 4.
Oh yeah, exactly. Traffic, LA. Okay, so here come the credits. We would love for you to join us online on Instagram and Twitter, where we are at MediaPath Pod, and on Facebook, where our show page is MediaPath Podcast, and our Facebook group is MediaPath with Fritz and Weezy podcast community. You can find full episodes with all kinds of bonus visual content on our YouTube channel, Media Path Podcast. We would love to know what media you have been enjoying, so you can contact us at our social media or email us at mediapathpodcast@gmail.com. We want to thank our insightful, brilliant, and lovely guest, Cathy Ladman. Our team includes Dina Friedman, Francesco Demanda, John Maddox, Sharon Bellio, Bill Filipiak, Thomas Hubble, Mason Brown, and you. Our theme music is by me and John Maddox. I am Louise Palanker, here with Fritz Coleman and Cathy Ladman, and we will see you along the media path. Okay, hold your place for one moment, Cathy, because we're going to stand up next to you, next to the monitor on which we see your face and take a picture.
Oh, okay.